Chris Duker for GeekNerdNet.com. I am at the official 15th anniversary of the Calgary Expo, and I am here with Calgary Expo mainstay, pretty much, Jim Zub. Hello, Jim.
Hey, how's it going? It is the 15th anniversary. Hard to believe. It's like no time has passed, and yet.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, no shit. I mean, it's great that we're back at a convention, a full 4 days that they're doing at their usual time slot, which is always good. So about you, obviously, for people who don't know, and you really should, but I'm just going to rhyme with some titles. Rick and Morty, Dungeons and Dragons, Rick and Morty, Conan, Wayward, Skull Kickers, many other D&D properties, Avengers. Yeah. You did Spider-Man too at one point, didn't you? Or am
I did the Ultimate Spider-Man magazine, but that's really obscure. Yeah. Conan the Barbarian, all kinds of fun stuff.
I got that one in there.
Keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah. So here we are. Essentially 2 years removed. Last time I saw you was at 2019 Calgary Expo. We talked about Stone Star was just launched at the time. You and Max Dunbar, and that was a Comixology exclusive.
Yeah. And now in print from Dark Horse.
Oh, nice. Congratulations. I didn't realize. I saw it sitting here, but I didn't realize it was Dark Horse. That's cool.
Yeah, they've got a partnership with Comixology to release a bunch of those originals in print now. So.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
Congrats on that. And then, 2019 and now it's 2022. Holy shit. I'm pretty sure I just blacked out for the last 2 years.
I did for a little while too, and then I realized I had deadlines, so I should probably keep writing. But no, it's been good. It's been good. Lots of good stuff on the go in terms of projects, and really excited to be back and thrilled to see people, and this really warm, hospitality from the city as always.
Yeah. For sure. I want to talk about the show for a second because you and I met you here years ago, and we've done a bunch of interviews over the years, and thank you for that, obviously, and this. But when you have a show, I think it's the second biggest in Canada outside of Fan Expo Canada, right? Yeah. So, and it's a hometown show for me, which is always great. But just talk about sort of the evolution of a show that you see like this.
I've literally been to every year of the Calgary Expo, and so from its humble beginnings, that first year, I remember Kendricks and Lori, the people that organized the show, when they had invited guests and rented the space and did all the thing, and they were like, if we can get 500 people to show up, we might not lose our shirts. And I think they had like 3,000 or something, and their minds were blown.
Right.
And now to be this absolute mainstay of the city, and everyone knows it, and it's just a real destination, and the level of guests they've been able to get and the visibility, it is one of those kind of stops that people love to make in North America for a very good reason,
Yeah.
And I think it's been really heartwarming to see the city embrace it and to understand how special it is and to help make it, and continue to make it special.
Yeah. And and you're right, it continues to build on each year. Yeah. Stupid pandemic aside, but I rhymed off a bunch of your titles. You've done such a gamut of stuff. All of your creator-owned stuff is always just bang-on hits and beautiful, beautiful work, and the writing is. You have such a I'm not going to say roller coaster, even though I just did. Your variety of writing, the different styles that you do for different books and different voices, how I should have said it. But I'm glad I got a laugh. But is there and maybe you can't answer this due to what you do, but intellectual properties, your own IPs aside,
right?
Are there any other characters that are sort of scratching at the back of you going, man, I would love to do that?
Sure.
Or is it just I'm happy doing all the awesome shit I do?
I do love the books I've worked on, obviously. And it's this weird thing where there are books that I've been, attached with. Something like Champions, for example, The Young Heroes of Marvel. That's not a book that I would have normally sought out. But Tom Brevoort, thought I would be a good fit on it. And by the end, I was able to do a short run on the book and make, I think, some cool waves in there and make some new characters and do some fun stuff. And so sometimes it's not even about who is your dream character. It's like finding the most in an opportunity and trying to leverage it and make it something that you as a reader would enjoy.
Yeah.
So, there are definitely dream characters I would love to do. I grew up collecting Amazing Spider-Man, so it's shocking on wanting to write Marvel's flagship character is not really a shock, like, oh yeah, really? We want to write Spider-Man? The deuce you say. Something like, I've done a little bit with Wolverine, and I would love to do more. I love the supernatural and the magical side of Marvel. So Doctor Strange, when I was a kid, because I love Dungeons and Dragons, it's like, oh, here's a wizard and he's a superhero.
Yeah.
Best character, Blade is another character fighting monsters, hunting stuff down, creepy, cool, supernatural, Ghost Rider. Those are characters that I gravitated to so much. And so it's something where I could go, yeah, I could really sink my teeth into that. And yet it's like, I never would have thought I would get the chance to write the Avengers. And the team dynamics was so near and dear to my heart. So it's something where I kind of go, yeah, there's dream books that I would love to do, but I'm also kind of excited to just see what kind of comes as well. And I'll, reach out to my editors at Marvel and I'll say, hey, these are things I'm excited about. And sometimes that's a one-to-one and they go, yeah, that'd be a good fit. And other times they're like, well, what about this? And those kind of fun opportunities I still really enjoy it. I enjoy like the new Thunderbolt series that we're launching this summer.
Yeah.
That spins out of Zdarsky's Devil's Reign story for Daredevil.
Cool.
And it was not something that I could see in coming up. And yet when we started putting the pieces together, I got more and more excited. So it's Hawkeye assembling this team of heroes to try and redeem the name of the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts right now at Marvel are kind of like Wilson Fisk's personal flunkies causing trouble.
Right.
The kingpin of crime is the mayor of New York, and he's deputized these villains to enact his will.
Right.
And when spoilers on the end of Devil's Reign, when he falls as mayor, he's no longer got that team. Luke Cage and Clint Barton have both led the Thunderbolts in the past. They want to redeem the name, and so they put together a new Thunderbolts team.
Nice.
And again, it's like characters, like I love Clint, and I've got Monica Rambeau on the team and America Chavez. I've got the young Victor Alvarez and all these cool characters, but it's not something I would have necessarily come up with on my own. It's like, oh, this fills a need in the ongoing Marvel story, and I can inject some of myself into it, and I can make it more than what it was, and try and spin into these fun areas of these characters that that's part of the collaborative nature of the Marvel Universe. It's not just about being in isolation. It's that ongoing creative pool of ideas.
Yeah.
Zdarsky comes up with a bunch of cool stuff, and now that turns into other stories, his own, and then other ones that other people are creating in and around it, with Luke Cage, with Daredevil, with the new Thunderbolts. And so it's like, that's what's so neat about the ongoing Marvel experiment. It's like everything builds on what's come before in new and fun and unexpected ways.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing on the new Thunderbolts. Yeah, go for it.
Who am I signing it to?
It's very busy at the convention. Jim is signing an issue of Wayward, a trade paperback. I am talking in his ear. It's pretty cool, the Calgary Expo. There are a lot of people here. It is day 2 of the show, and holy smokes, it is busy and hopping, and it's fantastic. There are people, I'd say about 70% of people are in masks, and in case anyone's wondering, but yeah, it's pretty cool if you're going to see a show again. 2022 seems to be the year to do it, so it's pretty exciting to be back, and also talking to a creator like Jim Zub. So he always makes time. You can go look through our site for other interviews we've done in the past. It's pretty great. So
if Pam knew you were here, she'd show up too.
and yeah, and the beat goes on.
I wasn't here.
So yeah, he's still.
I wish I could have been here. Trust me.
He's a very busy man, very busy creator. A lot of books to sign. Hello.
Hey, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. I just felt like a radio guy just filling dead air. I'm like giving stats on masks. I think there's about 70% of people in masks here.
Amazing.
Right? Okay, back to our regular scheduled program.
Thunderbolts.
New Thunderbolts. I mean, congratulations on that. I mean,
man.
I think every project you would get like that is pretty cool, and especially when it's that. Yes, you were saying you're always drawing on something else that might have come before it, or there's gonna be a little Easter egg of something from here.
Little funky bits of continuity.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm pretty sure I haven't really done a solo book at Marvel. It's always team books. It's always team dynamics.
Yep.
And I know some writers hate that stuff. They want to have the deep dive on a, lead character. And for me, it's like I love doing the different dynamics. I love having, which character is going to move into the forefront and how are they all interacting and the troubles and trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I love about that part of it.
Yeah.
And then being able to take old weird villains and bring those into the mix, or old stuff that I grew up on, or create new things too. That's what's always so cool about it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm a Marvel boy, like when I was a kid, and now being able to do new stuff in it fills me with joy. Add that to Dungeons and Dragons and Conan the Barbarian, and I'm like perpetually 10 years old, and that's okay.
God. Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I want to talk about Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons for a sec, because I think you told me about it, but anyway, I ended up buying. Remember the GameStop? They did a exclusive in the States, and it looked like a D&D book. And I found that hardcover. Got a friend to send it to me from the States, right? But just that kind of stuff is just so much fun to marry those worlds.
That was such an unexpected project. So what had happened was, from what I heard, so Rick and Morty comics are published by Oni Press. IDW is the publisher of the Dungeons and Dragons comics and a lot of the other Hasbro stuff. And a bunch of their, editors were out for dinner together, hanging out, and they joked like, "Oh, we should do some crossovers." Someone at the table literally said Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons, and everyone laughed. And then one of the editors kind of got stuck in her head, and she was like, "That's not a bad idea, actually." So that weekend, she approached me and she said, "Is this something you might be interested in?" I said, "Yeah, but you'll never get it negotiated. Like, Adult Swim is not going to give their crown jewel up for this, and Wiz the Coast is not going to let you go full Rick and Morty on it. Like, it's just not going to happen."
Yeah.
And I kind of waved it off like, that would be cool, but, I totally understand it won't happen. And she laughed, said, "Well, we can always ask him, we'll see what happens." And it took like 7 or 8 months for it to get the deal all percolated out. And then in that time, they'd reached out to Pat Rothfuss about being involved and asked if we would collaborate on it. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, I'm out for dinner with Pat Rothfuss, and we're doing story jamming, and Troy Little gets on board. He's this like Eisner award-winning cartoonist, so good at what he does, and makes it look like we are way better than we are. Like, all the craziness you write in that script, and he just elegantly puts it on the page,
Yeah.
When you have good collaborators, when you're working with people like a Max Dunbar or a Sean Isaac or, Jabril Morissette, or like that quality of artist, they make you look way better. They make you look so consistent. They make you sharp. And so many people assume, that every bit of that storytelling comes from the writer, but the artist is bringing so much of that into the fold and adding subtleties, or, making even the flow from panel to panel creates a certain mood and builds a certain atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I think people really take that for granted. When people say, "Oh, Jim's Skull Kickers," yes, it is my book, but Edwin Huang, the artist, makes that action and slapstick function. You know what I mean?
Right, for sure.
The reason why Tokyo feels so alive in Wayward is because of Steve Cummings and Tamara Bonvillain's phenomenal artwork, right? Without that, it all falls apart, And so as much as possible, like that artist, who gets cast on the book and who's doing the cover, like that makes or breaks the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I try and be more involved in that than, not every, like I know a bunch, some writers do, and some writers are more hands off. They just sort of write the script and hand it over. And I tend to, I'm up to my elbows as much as I can get. I want to see the stuff, the development. I want to be able to give the artists as much information or bounce ideas off them, talk to them about what excites them about the project so I can lean into those things.
Yeah.
I want to know what characters they love to draw so I can put more of that in the book so that they can be happier, so we can end up with a better final book.
That's cool.
That's the way
And
it should
makes
be.
sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a good creative collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's the stuff that I think it's kind of the hidden part of the whole process, where people are like, "Oh, you write the story and they draw the pictures." And you're like, that is one version of this, but it's certainly not the way it actually goes down. A lot of times it's back and forth.
Right.
And a lot of times it's, here's the initial script. Now you do the roughs or you do the construction or whatever. Now we talk, okay, let's add this, or hey, this dialogue could work better over here, or what if we amp this part up, or, like things like that.
Yeah.
Those are where I feel like everyone's got more skin in the game, and they all are more proud of the end result because of it.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, thanks for sharing all that, because that's a great insight into the background of any comic, right? Any story. The one I want to jump back for a quick second if I can. Sure. Not to make it too Rick and Morty heavy,
No, it's all good.
but Rick and Morty D&D.
Yes.
So you have the the two main series,
Yeah.
and then I was just telling you, I just read Mr.
Meeseeks.
Meeseeks issue the other day.
That came-
How did that? I was gonna.
Yeah,
how did that come
was
about?
So I did. We did PAX Unplugged, which is like a board game and card game show, and Oni Press has been doing some board games and card games, and they set up there, and we were selling Rick and Morty D&D, and they have a sketch cover, a blank, and I started as an artist. I can draw, and so that one of the easiest characters to draw is Mr. Meeseeks.
Huh.
He's just the kind of light bulb headed blue guy, and he's hilarious. His expressions are hilarious. And I was like, wouldn't it be funny to dress him up like a D&D character? So it's like him in wizard robes, or him in plate mail armor, or him with a bow and arrow, or playing a harp as a bard, or whatever. And I started doing a couple samples, and people were like, oh, I want a Meeseeks as a barbarian. Oh, I want a Meeseeks as a wizard with a long beard and all this stuff. And so I was drawing, I probably drew like 30 or 40 of these Meeseeks over one weekend.
Wow.
And I was laughing, and I was giving them weird little phrases and all this stuff. I'm like, there's a story in this. Like, what if you let loose a Meeseeks box in the Forgotten Realms? And what would that do to a regular fantasy world? There's the story.
Yeah.
And so it literally, out of those sketches, kind of grew the concept. And I, when I was talking to Oni Press, they were talking about doing the deluxe edition of Rick and Morty D&D with both series in it. And they said, we'd love to have some exclusive content. And I said, I'd do a special story standalone, like called The Meeseeks Adventure. And I literally sent them like a 2-sentence pitch, a Meeseeks box runs loose in the Forgotten Realms, and the whole world's going to suffer. And they were like, okay. And I said, okay. And they had already sent it over to Adult Swim. And based on that, we had these 2 successful miniseries, you build up trust.
Totally.
And so they were like, yep, Jim knows what he's doing, go for it. And the D&D people were like, yep, Jim knows what he's doing, go for it. And so I just
Amazing.
rattled this insane story out and had a blast doing it. And I said, if Troy doesn't draw it, my heart will break, because he's the guy.
Yeah.
And Troy jumped right on and did a wonderful job with it. So.
Well, I'll say this as a fan too. I mean, like, I loved it, and I honestly read. I'm like, damn it, it's only one issue. I was pissed. I'm like, I want another issue.
I know, it was so much fun, and we just went over the top with some of those battle sequences. And there's a scene where there's hundreds of Meeseeks storming a castle, and it's so easy for me to draw as many Meeseeks as you can fit on 2 pages, storming castle walls, catapulting over the walls, lighting themselves on fire.
I was not expecting those. Sorry to interrupt. Those were hilarious.
And I can write that, and it doesn't take me too long. And Troy probably took 3 or 4 days just to draw that spread.
Right.
And hundreds of these little dying Meeseeks and flailing Meeseeks. And man, it's brilliant. Yeah. And it's like, I can't take credit for that. Like, that guy works so hard on those pages.
Oh my God,
it's so great.
Work too.
Thanks. Yeah, he's so good.
So it's 2022. As we just to remind people,
I know.
in case they still think it's 2020.
Right.
What shows have you got coming up? I heard you chatting with one of your folks at the table here.
Mostly in Canada this year, as we just sort of dip our toe back into the convention circuit.
Yep, for sure.
So I've got Calgary. I'll be at TCAF, the Toronto Comic Arts Festival. We're doing Montreal. I'm going to be doing Fan Expo Canada, the big Toronto show. I'm going to be in Halifax this fall.
Oh, the Halcon.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I've never done that one. I'm real excited about that.
Nice.
And then the States shows are still up in the air. I'll be at Gen Con finally again. I love Gen Con. It's the big Dungeons & Dragons, Magic the Gathering, and board game show.
Cool. Yeah.
And I've always got a booth there. And that's been canceled for 2 years in a row. So we're like, okay, we got to get back. I'm really excited about that.
Where is that held? Sorry,
That's
which
in
city?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Oh, okay.
And because I haven't been there in a while, it's going to be great to be there with the Young Adventurers Guides for Dungeons & Dragons that my wife and I work on together, and the new Skull Kickers book that we did. Because I did a Kickstarter last year for a new Skull Kicker story and a role-playing adventure, like a tabletop adventure. And the book's finished, and we've been sending it out to backers, and so I'll have copies of that there.
Nice.
Really, really excited.
Yeah, I was taking a quick thumb through it last night. I'm so glad I bought it yesterday, because you said you were sold out of them.
Yeah, we sold out here in one day at Calgary. I didn't bring a ton, but I still thought we'd have them for a few days at least. Yeah,
Right.
It's been great.
Awesome. Well, hey, Jim, Zub, you're very busy, man. Thank you very much. Again, always great to have you on our site, and I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, and thank you to your listeners for the support.